Hi, it's your girl Curly Jamaican here with yet another video for you. And today I wanted to talk about a very sensitive subject. Honestly, I figured it would be safe for me to stay away from this subject because of how controversial it is. And I don't really want to ever publicly speak on the LGBT community and the events taking place in this community because honestly, I just think that, that's their lane and I don't really have a dog in the fight, so to speak. In light of this Dwayne Wade situation, and all the opinions that I've been seeing, all the things that I've been hearing, I honestly figured that it's okay for me to be a part of this conversation because a lot of this has to do with parenting. Just know that anything that I say moving forward, it is not to be offensive. It is not to attack their parenting skills or style, whatever. It is nothing like that. It's just my view on the whole situation when it comes to not even the LGBTQ community, not even the transgenderism, not even that, but just the simple concept of parenting. What do I think about the Dwayne Wade situation? Honestly, considering the age of the child, I felt like this should have never been announced to begin with. The child is 12 years old. I think that this should have been something that should have been privately handled, put out there for opinions and criticisms and trolls and all of these things. I mean, I think this should have just been between Dwayne and his wife and the mother of his kid. This is just simply my opinion. If I have a 12-year-old that's going through what is considered by many to be a difficult period in their life, it's not an easy decision to make. You're making a decision that will permanently alter the path of this child's life. I don't see why I would make that like a public spectacle. And that's kind of how it feels. The public is literally going at each other saying, oh no, you're supposed to support your child and you're supposed to be there for them and love them unconditionally. And then of course the other half is saying, well, no, your child is telling you that they're doing this. They're not old enough to make a decision like that. I just don't think that I should even have this knowledge of your child going through this at 12 years old. You're talking about backlash and navigating social media and things like that, which I'm sure your child has that. I'm sure your child's information and your child's decision is like just all over the media. Why would we want to add that stress to the decision of transitioning from a male to female? I personally would not announce to the world what my 12-year-old is thinking of doing. I know you want to celebrate your child, but what about the part where you're protecting your child? You're protecting your child from vicious social media attacks. And I know that a lot of people are being nice and they're not necessarily attacking the child. They're not really saying anything bad about the child, but they're saying bad things about the situation and they're criticizing the situation heavily. And honestly, it begs the question as to why really was this an announcement to the world? Why? I get that you're trying to support your child, but you can't support your child and it's not like world news. This is kind of why a lot of people are very questioning and very skeptical as to the genuineness of this. Because honestly, if my child came to me and told me that they wanted to transition, this is a family matter. I'm not trying to announce it to everyone. I'm trying to see how best to navigate this thing that my child is going through. I'm trying to see if this is something that he really feels, if this is a phase. I'm trying to do all of that before this becomes public news. So honestly, I just didn't think it was in the best interest of the child to announce this. That being said, there's a part of me that feels like this is in the media and this is in the news as sort of some type of socialization, conditioning process, to be honest, to get us, especially African American households, to understand how best to handle a child wanting to transition to another gender. So it's no secret that when it comes to homosexuality, that the African American community, they are not as embracing as, other races. It seems as if there's a lot of conditioning going on to get us to become a little bit less traditional when it comes to homosexuality. And I'm choosing my words carefully because just know that this video is not meant to offend anyone. And I feel as if, like, in the past decade or so, there has been a very conscious push to have us become more inclusive, embracing this type of lifestyle, and to be less against it. I'm Jamaican. I'm from a culture that, how Jamaicans are, right? So I'm from that culture. So I know what homophobia is. I've seen it firsthand. Jamaica is changing when it comes to us embracing homosexuality. But worldwide, when it comes to the Black community, there's a type of negative stigma attached to it. And as a result, I think that the media is playing their role in trying to change that. Like I said, again, I'm not trying to be offensive. I have 2 children. As a parent, you kind of have to understand my position and where I stand when it comes to protecting my child's innocence. It's not just protecting my child's innocence from the concept of homosexuality. It's pretty much just protecting my child from sexuality, period. I don't think my 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old should have to think about these things. I mean, they're going to come to an age where they're going to have crushes. That's going to be inevitable. But why are we rushing them? Why are we rushing them into this, into thinking about very real topics like sex, transgenderism, homosexuality, heterosexuality? Why are we forcing them, taking them out of this innocent world and forcing them to think about these things? And it's as if few people are understanding that this is what we're doing. This is the world we're living in. We can't change it. This is just the flow of society now. But pardon me if I want to really, really, really try my hardest to protect my child as much as I can before they have to face it as teenagers and adults, because once that ship has sailed, that ship has sailed. There's no coming back. I kind of wanted to touch on the topic also that I don't think that a 12-year-old should be transitioning at this age. A couple of things that I've figured out in my little lane is that a lot of transgenders, they're concerned with passing. Meaning that, by the time they start the hormonal treatment and they do the surgery, they want to be able to pass as the other gender. And it gets harder and harder the older the child becomes, the older the adult becomes. This is what I understand, that, there are certain biological changes that you're trying to offset and prevent before you transition into whatever sex that you're trying to transition into. And so that's why it is beneficial to start the treatment before puberty. But the opposite also rings true. If you regret the transition and the changes that you have underwent, there are certain things that you cannot reverse or undo. There are certain deformities that you might be left with. There's certain physiological changes that you have to get treatment for that too. And you're gambling with something so permanent. Really, the question is, why are you rushing into it? I would say at least 18 years old. I mean, did you know that your brain is not completely formed until after 25 years old? As a 17-year-old, I thought I was an adult. As a 20-year-old, I thought I was doing it. But now I'm finding out that your brain is not fully developed until after 25. And so that is why when you see people talking about their past, they'll say things like, I was young and dumb. I thought this was what I should have done, I could have done. This really is something that people just normally deal with, like regretting things that they did before their brain was 100% developed. So why would you think that at 12, this is the perfect time to make a change as permanent as changing your gender? as removing your genital and replacing it with another. I heard that Dwayne Wade said that Zaya has actually done a lot of research. I don't think your 12-year-old son understands in reality how much effort, the lifetime effort, the post-surgery aftercare and maintenance is. He's going to start realizing, oh my gosh, this is really a lifetime effort. This is something I have to do every single day in order to maintain the physiological changes that I want. It's my life. It is my focus. If you don't think that's a little bit too much for them to be going through at that age, your role as a parent is to supervise your child and to guide your child until they become an adult. And the last thing you want to do is to aid them in making a permanent decision that will affect their adulthood now. And it is okay to say, hey, I support you, but right now I don't think this is the best time for you to do certain things. Or right now I don't think it's the best time for you to make certain decisions. This is our role as parents, and to make sure that we're not enabling something that could be detrimental to your child in the future. There's one thing with being supportive, and there's another thing with just enabling. And enabling is not necessarily good parenting. We're at a point in society where we're being told that enabling means the same thing as supporting. It is not. Teaching, guiding them, having them understand the importance of permanence and good decision-making skills, and just letting them know that even though you are thinking about it now and it feels good now, that every decision is not a good decision. So it's something that sometimes you might just want to sleep on it, give it a few years before you decide on anything permanent. Back to child development, most of this information I got from the internet. You guys can do your own research. Credibility of these doctors, I'm not really certain, but I will definitely give you my sources so you guys can just check them out yourself. But Dr. Sapolsky, he states that during child development, your frontal cortex is very immature, which goes back to your brain not developing fully before 25 years old. And it is during this time where teenagers, they experience real high highs and real low lows, and there's just a spectrum of behavior during that time as they develop their personality and who they are and think about who they want to be when they grow up. And a lot of experimentation takes place during this time. A lot of bad decisions and good decisions are made in this time. As a parent, that's where you come in. You're trying to make sure that they make decisions that are not so detrimental they cannot undo it or reverse it in the future. The 2017 data that I was able to pull states that the surgeries have actually increased by 20% from 2015 to 2016 in the United States. For urologist Miroslav Georgievic, he states that for the male to female reassignment surgery, it is more than likely for them to want to get their genitalia back, more so than the female to male reassignment surgery. A lot of them, they claim hormonal regret, where they believe that taking the hormones sort of influence or help to influence the decision in becoming or undergoing the surgery. A lot of male to female transgenders, they end up struggling with passing. They end up struggling with being accepted as a woman after the surgery, and then may end up regretting the surgery. The surgeries are pretty expensive, which I'm pretty sure Dwayne Wade will not have a problem affording it. But for the normal, regular family or household, it is pretty expensive. And then the aftercare maintenance is also expensive too. And sometimes what ends up happening is they end up going through the hormonal treatment and they get partial surgeries, and then they don't end up completing the surgery, which leads to even more regret. Guys, I want you to know how hard making this video was for me, because I was kind of stuck between being politically correct, not being offensive, and just being true to my opinion. And that's kind of hard to do on YouTube. As a mother of two beautiful children, I just have to say that I just would not start hormonal treatments prior to them being an adult. and I would not have them undergo the gender reassignment surgery. As a matter of fact, if my kids ever come to me and explain to me that they're struggling with their sexuality, during that time, the only thing that we need to be having is discussions about it. Are you sure? Do you think this is a phase? How do you feel about the situation? Do you feel like you're going to be bullied in school? That's just pretty much my take on the whole matter. You guys let me know what you think, if you have an opinion on it. Please be respectful. This is not open season for homophobic comments or anything like that. Just be respectful. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for supporting. Share, like, tell me what you think. I am all ears, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Yeah.